Well, the space shuttle program may be over, but space memorabilia lives on. And here with more on this in the business of auctions and collecting is Bobby Livingston from R&R Auctions in Massachusetts. Bobby, good having you on the program.
It's great to be here.
You have a special auction coming up, and it's all having to do with space and space memorabilia, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of our special featured auctions. It traces the history of aviation to the Apollo program and the shuttle program, which is unfortunately ending right now, the last flight.
Let's start very early on in not the space program, but just aeronautics in general in the United States. This is a letter that will be up for auction from
Wilbur Wright. You know, what's really amazing is the Wright brothers flew 26 feet in 1903, and now, you know, just 60 years later, you land on the moon. But here he's talking about the Wright B flyer, its propeller speed, its engine. It's a really fascinating letter. It's written to one of the first aviators, military aviators in the United States, named Hap Arnold. It's an incredible letter from 1911.
What would the starting bid on something like this be?
It would probably, the starting bid would be $1,000 or so, but we estimate it to sell for $30,000 to $40,000.
Oh my goodness! All right. A resident from southwestern Connecticut for part of his life, Charles Lindbergh, and this is part of...
That's part of the spirit of St. Louis. After his transatlantic flight, he came to America and he was traveling around the country, and as the plane would land at different cities, they'd make repairs. And this is a piece of fabric that was taken from the spirit of St. Louis that actually went from New York to Paris. An incredible artifact, an incredible thing from Charles Lindbergh, $15,000 to $20,000.
The outside of the plane? This fabric was used to cover the...
Right. This was part of the fabric of the airplane. Incredible.
Amazing. All right, now we get into the Apollo program.
Right.
And this is the crew, this photograph right here, the crew of Apollo 1, ill-fated flight.
Right. They died in 1967 on Apollo 1, and they only signed very few of these crew photos. And this one was actually given to astronaut Gene Cernan, the last man on the moon, and he signed it along the top. So it's an incredible association from Apollo 1 to the last Apollo mission, Apollo 17. It was a tragedy and almost derailed the whole space program. So these guys' autographs are extremely valuable and rare to get authentic examples.
Yeah, it really kind of this symbolism of the perseverance of a program that doesn't always go perfectly, but that science and innovation and the seeking to improve continued.
It's incredible.
It really is.
The Apollo program, space program, is probably our greatest achievement as a country and maybe as a planet. Yeah. I really can't think of something greater.
This letter right here is really something because it's signed by Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin.
Right. And
tell us about it.
It's incredible. It's written about a month before they land on the moon, and someone's written to Neil Armstrong and asked him, what are you going to say when you land on the moon? And I mean, if you want to read it, it's really amazing. He basically says, you know, whatever we say, we hope it's appropriate. We hope you like it. And of course, he utters the most iconic, famous phrase, you know, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. So, an incredibly impressive letter from the NASA program. Yeah, this is
a woman, Mrs. Teller, who writes him this. Colonel Aldrin and I, and this is what Neil Armstrong writes back to her. Colonel Aldrin and I appreciate your taking the time to write us, and goes on. And I think what struck me about this letter is, we do not know at this time what our inclination will be should we be successful in our landing attempt, because at that point nobody knew whether they were going to be successful or not.
It's very dangerous.
Oh, my
you
goodness.
Take it for granted, but
today we look at it's like a 747 taking off and landing.
Right.
Very different back then.
Right. I mean, it was incredible science engineering skills that let them land on the moon. An incredible achievement.
Right here. Tell us
this is a flight-flown flag. I know since the shuttle missions are ending, this was on the very first flight, Columbia, in 1981. This was a presentation flag that was actually brought up as a souvenir. So I thought that was kind of neat to bring you. The other piece that we have from the shuttle missions, a tragedy, is a photo of Krista McAuliffe, the first school teacher in space, her trying out space food.
Space food.
It's very tragic, of course.
When it comes to the business of memorabilia like this, now that the space shuttle program has ended, how does that affect the value of memorabilia from the program?
Well, I don't know if the program ending is being affected by the end of the space program, but the generation that grew up watching the moon landings and watching the space program and the space race, they have the disposable income to collect this type of thing, and they appreciate it. What an incredible time that was for America to be launching these rockets, these Saturn rockets into space and putting men on the moon and bringing them back home again. It's something that people are passionate about, and we have customers from all over the world, England, Australia, that love to collect astronaut stuff.
Well, and it's interesting, every month do you issue a big catalog like this?
Every single month for the last 30 years, we've sent out a catalog around the world filled with incredible autographs and artifacts. It's an incredible place to work, and we specialize in authentic autographs and signatures and manuscripts. That's how we've built our business, because you've got to be really careful out there when you buy an autograph that it's not a forgery, a fake or a secretarial or an auto pen. And we have in-house experts that look at everything to make sure it's real, and then we also show it to outside third-party people to make sure they agree with our opinion. So it's something you need to be careful of, but it's something we're real proud of, is that catalog.
And then how do people find out about auctions like this? Do they contact R&R Auctions, and then you'll find out about the space auction coming up in September?
Right, they just go to our website, they can register, we'll send them free catalogs, or if they want us to appraise something they might have, we'll be happy to do that as well.
Wow, fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing these letters. Just love looking back at what a phenomenal program it was.
Yep, thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. And we'll be back with more 12 on the Money after a break.